I never thought I'd be writing this, but life has a way of surprising you when you least expect it. I'm 48, married for 22 years to my wife who's 45. We have 3 sons, 16, 19, and 21. Our life was what most people would call perfect, or at least that's what I believed until last month. It started with an email from a woman I didn't know. She wrote that her fiancé had confessed to having an affair with someone at his workplace 3 years ago. When she investigated, she found out it was my wife. At first, I laughed it off. My wife of 22 years wouldn't do something like that. But then the woman sent more details, specific dates, places, even the coffee shop where they used to meet. The worst part? The guy was just 23 at the time. I started connecting the dots. 3 years ago, I was away for 6 weeks, working on opening a new branch of my manufacturing company in another state. My wife had encouraged me to go, saying it was a great opportunity. Now I understand why she was so supportive of that trip. These days, I feel like a ghost in my own house. I wake up early, spend extra hours at my office where I manage about 80 employees, and come home late. My wife notices something's wrong, but I can't even look at her. She keeps talking about our upcoming vacation and visiting our oldest son who works in another city, while our middle one is in college. I just nod and go to my study. But here's what hurts the most. My sons knew about it. According to the email, my youngest walked in on them kissing in our living room. My wife somehow convinced him not to tell me. Given how close my boys are with each other, I'm certain he told his brothers. The 3 of them kept this secret for 3 years. I've always tried to be a good father. I built my business from scratch to give them everything they needed. I made sure they could go to college without student loans. I attended every soccer game, every graduation, every important moment in their lives. We even have this family group chat where they ask for advice about cars, apartments, or just share funny memes. Now when I see their messages, I feel like screaming. My friend Marcus went through something similar last year. He advised me not to confront my wife immediately and to get my finances in order first. I've been meeting with a lawyer, preparing for divorce. Part of me wants to just disappear, maybe go to Bali for a few months. But Marcus says that's not legally smart. The hardest part is deciding what to do about my sons. Sometimes I want to message them and demand answers. Other times, I want to cut all ties. I understand they might have been trying to protect our family, but they watched me for 3 years, had dinners with me, celebrated holidays, all while keeping the secret. Each morning, I sit in my car for a few extra minutes before going into the house, trying to gather strength to act normal. My wife still makes my coffee every morning, still asks about my day, still plans our future. If only she knew there won't be any future, at least not together. A lot has happened since I started preparing for divorce. I met with my lawyer again, and the news was mostly good. Since our sons are grown up, there won't be any child support issues. As for alimony, my wife has a good job at an accounting firm, so that might not be a problem either. Thanks to my parents' advice when we got married, we kept separate bank accounts except for one joint account for household expenses. That turned out to be very smart. The lawyer mentioned she might try to claim part of my company if I ever sell it, but we can deal with that later. Right now, I'm more concerned about my sons. The anger inside me keeps growing. Every time I think about confronting them, I worry I might say things I'll regret. It's easier to be angry at my wife. She'll be gone after the divorce. But my sons, they're my blood. I can't just stop loving them, even though right now, that love is mixed with a lot of hurt. I assume my youngest told his brothers because they've always been inseparable. When one of them has a problem, the other 2 are always there to help. I used to be proud of their bond. Now it feels like they formed an alliance against me. Between running my company, pretending everything's fine at home, and dealing with lawyers, I barely have time to process all this. My only escape is the gym early in the morning. But an hour of exercise isn't enough to clear my head. I got myself tested for STDs. Thankfully, all clear. Marcus suggested I should do paternity tests too, but I decided against it. What's the point? I've raised these boys for over 20 years. Finding out they're not biologically mine wouldn't change how I feel about them. If they aren't mine, that's on their mother, not them. I did some digging about the woman who contacted me. Apparently, she and the guy were planning their wedding when he confessed everything. My first response to her email was to defend my wife, but as she shared more details, doubt crept in. Once I knew what to look for, I found more evidence myself. Old text messages, unexplained absences during that 6-week period, hotel receipts. Some friends suggested I should just leave everything behind and start fresh somewhere else. But they don't understand. You can't just walk away from your children. Yes, I'm angry. Yes, I feel betrayed. But these are my sons. The same boys who used to climb into my bed during thunderstorms, who made me proud at their graduations, who still call me for advice about their careers. I decided to test the waters with my youngest first. Last Friday, I took him to lunch. When I asked if there was anything he wanted to tell me, he knew exactly what I meant. The look on his face said everything. He broke down crying and told me the whole story. That day 3 years ago, he came home early from school and found them in the living room. His mother sent the guy away immediately and begged my son not to tell me. She claimed it was a one-time mistake and that telling me would destroy our family. She knows me well. I've always said trust is everything in a relationship. If you break it, there's no going back. My youngest admitted he told his brothers. My oldest didn't believe it was just one kiss. He thought it was too convenient that his brother happened to walk in the only time something happened. He promised his siblings he would handle it and confronted their mother. She always had excuses for not telling me. First it was my company's expansion, then my father's health issues, then my stress about the new contracts. There is always a reason why now isn't the right time. After lunch with my youngest, I set up a video call with all 3 of them. They broke down crying, apologizing over and over. I told them I wasn't angry, just hurt that they carried this secret for so long. I assured them I would always love them, but I needed some time to process everything. That evening, I confronted my wife. She started crying immediately, sticking to her story about it being just one kiss. I told her about the divorce papers she'd receive tomorrow. Instead of responding, she just sat there sobbing. I packed a bag and left for a hotel downtown. My youngest texted saying he didn't want to go home, so I invited him to stay with me. We had another video call with his brothers that night. I explained the divorce process and reassured them again that they're still my sons, no matter what. But I couldn't help telling them how hurt I was that they kept this from me. They cried again, and my oldest said if I needed time away to clear my head, I should take it. The next morning, everything changed. My wife called while my youngest and I were having breakfast. I put her on speaker. She sounded drunk, and at first, she begged me to come back, saying we were meant to be together. When I refused, she turned nasty. She threatened to bankrupt my company, to tell our sons I had abused her, to take everything I owned. My youngest sat there shocked. This wasn't the mother he knew. She later sent him angry messages, blaming him for telling me. That's when I knew he couldn't go back home. I found an apartment downtown where we could stay until he finishes high school. My other sons were stunned when they heard about their mother's threats. They'd never seen this side of her either. The divorce papers arrived, and she went crazy, calling all our relatives, spreading stories. My brother stood by me, knowing I wouldn't end a 22-year marriage without good reason. Her family kept calling until my oldest shut them down. My lawyer advised against meeting her, said there's nothing to gain and everything to lose. The divorce should be straightforward since she has a good job. She'll get half our assets, but she can't touch my company. I've put my Bali plans on hold until my youngest graduates. He's still shaken by his mother's behavior, so I found him a counselor to talk to. My other sons call daily to check on us. Our relationship isn't the same. How could it be? But we're working on it. I don't know what the future holds. Right now, I'm focused on being there for my sons while trying to heal myself. Some days are harder than others. Sometimes I still wake up thinking it was all a bad dream, but then reality hits. My life isn't what I thought it was, but maybe that's okay. At least now I know the truth. I might not update this story again unless something major happens. Writing it down has helped me process everything. If you're going through something similar, remember, it's okay to be angry. It's okay to be hurt, but don't let it consume you. Life goes on, and sometimes what feels like an ending is actually a new beginning. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with friends or family who might enjoy it too. Your support means a lot. And if you have any thoughts, questions, or story ideas, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next story.